Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship, and in this video we're just going to do another velocity banking review. So what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy where you throw all of your money into debt with the help of something called a line of credit. And the title of this video is called Devote Yourself to the Velocity Banking Spreadsheet. Did you know that the velocity banking spreadsheet is just a fancy word for a budget? That's right, just like velocity banking is just a fancy word for not saving money, right? Not saving money, and that's what we're going to do today. And also, this whole velocity banking thing, I use it as an excuse to create a cult because we have some dedicated cult members. Shout outs to you all. And in order to join this cult, you just got to create spreadsheets every single day. Bonus points to you for joining the cult if you paid off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months, like I did right here. And let me go ahead and stare at this for one moment so that you can feed my ego. Let's stare at it for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right, folks. I paid off my mortgage in 2 years and 9 months, and a lot of people well, not a lot of people. Sometimes people in the comments attack me like, you don't know what you're talking about. That may be true, but I'm a person who doesn't know what I'm talking about, who paid off my mortgage in 2 years and 9 months. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. And so the first step to velocity banking is creating a budget because the velocity banking spreadsheet is a budget, right? People like send me emails all the time. Can I have a velocity banking spreadsheet? And I was like, you can't create a budget on your own. All right. I mean, I got that like smirk. Is it a smirk? When Iron Man is talking with all the Avengers and he's like, and they say something stupid, and Iron Man is just looking at them like that. That's the look I have. Okay. Okay. So in order to do velocity banking, so first step, I've already done the budget. And then what you do is you put your income, expenses, and savings, and then you do an expense breakdown, and then you list every single debt that you have because this is a debt payoff strategy, right? And oh man, we got a lot of debts today. Okay. 10 credit cards, a personal loan, an auto loan, a student loan, a mortgage, and then everything that's not a debt, your food, gas, insurance, you leave here $2,000 a month. So we're making 10,000. We have $10,206 of expenses, which includes debt. And then after the month is over, there's more month than money because we're at negative. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to copy the same income, okay? Same expenses, all right? And actually, I got to copy this last one, don't I? Same expenses, but we're going to do something really scary. Whether the savings is positive or negative, in this case it'd be negative, we're not going to save any money. Oh no, okay? We're not going to save any money, okay? And then if you take a look here, right, let me show you how this looks like in my own life. When I have a lot of money coming in, I just put it right out to the debt, okay? It just goes right to the debt. And a lot of people would be thinking, you're insane. Shouldn't you save some of that money? I'm like, I'm moving it to debt with the help of something called a line of credit. And what is a line of credit? Well, you can see this line of credit I have right here for $280,000. $280,000 is a home equity line of credit. So what is that? Basically, it's a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again, right? So a credit card is technically a line of credit, but it is a more restricted form of line of credit because you can't use it to pay everything. But a home equity line of credit, this HELOC right here, oh, I could use it to pay anything. If I have a $50 bill dip, if I have a $50 bill due from the home equity line of credit, just borrow the 50 from the line of credit and then put it back, bill satisfied. Okay, so that's what we need, and we're going to use it as our main operating account. So let's assume we have access to, I don't know, a $200,000 home equity line of credit. Now, when you're at this stage of life and you have negative $200 of savings, will the bank lend you lines of credit? Probably not, right? And the reason I say that is because I know the secret to getting lines of credit, and I say this as a person who has over $594,000 in lines of credit. And then, sometimes people try to comment on this channel saying, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, but I'm a person who doesn't know what I'm talking about, but I have over $594,000 in lines of credit. And I'm going to tell you the secret to getting lines of credit. You want to know the secret? Banks don't lend money to people who need it, okay? They don't lend money to people who need it, and if you need money, that's a big no-no, okay? All right. So I got all these lines of credit because I woke every day. I was waking up and I was like, do I need money today? I need money. I'm not going to a bank. And if I don't need money, then I get credit. And that's how I have for $594,000 in lines of credit. And that's the secret to getting credit. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you did have a line of credit that was free and clear. And this is how I want you to think of this situation. I'm not saying that, hey, someone's going to give you a line of credit when you're a negative $200, right? What I'm saying is think of this as like car insurance. What if you had car insurance? Okay. And the reason why the bank won't lend you the line of credit is because it's like crashing your car without insurance and then trying to get car insurance right afterwards. That's what the bank sees, okay? If you're in this situation and you're trying to get a line of credit, you're too risky, all right? But if you it's much easier to get that line of credit, okay? Much easier before you start driving. Remember that. A lot of people try to like disregard this and say, "I don't know what I'm talking about." And I'm going to tell you, I may not know what I'm talking about, but I might be a cult leader, but banks don't lend money to people who need it. Remember that. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is have something called cash flow. And how much credit card debt is this? Let's just figure it out. 5, 8, 15, 27, 30, okay, 7, 10, 35, and then 12, and then 18, and then let me go ahead and sum it up. Where's that sum button? Right there. All right, 167,000. Okay, and you know what? Let's move this personal loan in there too. So that'll be 177,000, right? 177,000. Let's go ahead and move 177,000 into the line of credit. So we're going to move the credit cards and the 12% personal loan into our 8% line of credit. Think of it as like an 8% credit card, this home equity line of credit. And guess what happens? Okay, these payments all go to zero. Zero, zero, okay? Zero, 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 zero. So how did we go from negative $206 of savings into $5,315.80 of cash flow? Interesting. Interesting. Let's stare at this. I mean, think about it. If you showed this to your friends, right? And you hide this column. Let me go ahead and hide this column, okay? And you show this to your friends and say, friend, amigo, or amiga, okay? $10,000 of income, $10,200.06 of expenses, and you have negative $200 of savings, and you have all this debt. Do you need more money to get out of it? And every single person that you know will say yes. Everyone. But look at this. Just because we decided we're not going to save money, we're going to consolidate some debt, and then we're going to use our line of credit as our main operating account, which is you put your entire paycheck into that line, which will do two things: satisfy the minimum monthly payment, and then it'll lower the interest because it's based on the average daily balance. And then you take your expenses out of that line, which is this 4,000 right here. Every single month, the balance should go down about $5,315.80. Okay, so let's go ahead and calculate the next month's balance. That's based on the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus our cash flow, which is 5315.8. All right, and then what we do is we take the interest and we base it on the average daily balance. Average daily balance multiplied by 0.08 and divide by 12. Okay, now this is where the fun begins. Also, y'all know that Revenge of the Sith Star Wars re-released yesterday, or was it yesterday or recently? And it was hugely profitable for Disney. Amazing. And that's where that line was from. This is where the fun begins. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at this. What am I even doing? Let me delete some of this. All right. So we see that in 38 months, we paid off all the debt, all of it right here. 38 months, okay? 38 months, we paid off all the debt, and we're $5,315.80 of cash flow. Amazing. 38 months. And we started out negative. All right, 38 months. All right. So now let's go ahead and do this, and then this is going to be 38 months, and then how much in total was that? It's 177K, not bad. So 38 months, 177K, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then now what we got to do is take a look at our loan calculator, because we got 3 more loans left, which is the student loan, the auto loan, and the Z mortgage. So now let me just go ahead and I'll put this one to 0, and then what this one is 38, 38, 38. All right, and then so now we have this thing called the cash flow index. Okay, so 8835.91. So I'm going to go ahead and move this into the Z line of credit, and I'm going to move this right here. So now we're moving the auto loan into the line of credit. So it's going to be Control V. This is going to be plus 8835.91. Oopsie, I put 9935. That'll be 8835. Delete 835.91. And then this is going to be 0. And so what's our cash flow now? It's $5,729.08. So I'm going to go ahead and do this now. And I am going to, oh wow. Let's see if we can wipe this out. Probably not. 5729.08. All right. So now let's go ahead and do this. All right. And then now at 40 months, we paid off the car. 40 months. And then this is going to be 177 plus 23. So this is going to be 200K. All right. And then now, okay, now, let's see. 80,000, 250,000. So month 40. So this is going to be 0, 0. And then month 40, we figure out what the balance of the student loan and the mortgage is. So let's go ahead and move the student loan into that line of credit. So we'll do 59,000 right here. Control V, this is going to be plus 59,244.8. Okay. And then now our cash flow for after the student loan has increased by almost $1,000. And then now let's go ahead and go up, and now our cash flow is $6,000. Pretty sweet. All right, so now this is going to be 6657.95. 6657.95. All right. So this is now 49 months, all right? 49 months, pretty sweet, pretty sweet. Okay, so 49 months, it's completely paid off. And then now we got is the mortgage. 49 months and 280K. And now we're smarter than the average bear. Smarter than the average bear. So the only thing we have left is that mortgage. And because we weren't dumb, even though we're making $10,000 a month, we decided that we're not going to buy a $500,000 or $600,000 home. And what I mean by that is that people who make good money, what happens is that lifestyle inflation creeps in, right? Lifestyle inflation creeps in, and it's going to be really hard for you because the thing about like personal homes is that personal homes um, are not really investment; they're a liability. hmm Like just because you bought a home does not make you wealthy, and that's kind of the mentality that created the 2008 housing crash, where it's like, let's give everybody a home, and then if they own a home, they'll be wealthy. Which for 90% of people, it's not true. Okay, I'll say there's a 10% it might be, but for 90% of people, definitely not true. All right. So now let's go ahead and get rid of the mortgage. Why do we have to get rid of the mortgage? It's because if we let it go to the full 30-year term, so this is now 360, guess what? You're paying on that 5% loan almost 100% interest, right? $250,000 loan, $233,000 interest. Well, that's a no bueno, and we can't let that happen. So this is going to be 49. So yeah, 49 months. What's the current balance? Okay. And so now at this point, you might be thinking, well, why don't we move this 30-year mortgage into a line of credit? And I'm going to tell you why, for the most part, it's not going to be the best idea. And this is especially true if you have a huge interest rate difference between the loan and the line of credit, right? Like if the line of credit is 15 and the loan is 5%, got to be a little bit careful, okay? There are some instances where it's like, hey, you could even use a 30% credit card to pay off that 5% loan, right? But we got to know what it is that we're doing. And so I'm going to tell you that sometimes you might hear some things on the internet that may not be good for you. Like the internets may tell you, hey, always move that loan into a line of credit. But it's not that simple because with the 30-year mortgage, right? Because you're basically paying $233,000 for $1,300 of cash flow. That's a very little cash flow for you that you get for $233,000, right? Makes sense. That's what this whole cash flow index number means. Okay, and so even though this doesn't really, it's not really intuitive, it doesn't make sense, what you can do is do something called chunking, right? Which is take a piece of the loan and move into line of credit, and you'll realize, wow, it's not that big of a deal to use even a 15 or 30% credit card, even though it does affect the amount of interest you pay, but barely. Okay, but we'll take a look into that. So give me one moment to open up the Velocity Banking Calculator. All right, here we are with the Velocity Banking Calculator. And I'm going to go ahead and do this and then put in the deets and the information. And you might be thinking, what was I doing last time with all these huge numbers, 74 grand, 44 grand? We had a live stream exclusively for YouTube members where we're just kind of doing it live with operating a farm, right? So put in some numbers in ChatGPT, or ChatGPT spit out some numbers as if we were farmers, and then we're just doing it live because right now I'm actually recording this from my 2-acre farm. Pretty sweet, right? My 2-acre farm with fiber internet and 4 HD TVs, or Roku TVs. Okay, all right. Yeah, I do. All right, so let's go ahead and 250, and then I'm going to do this right now. It's 233,708.26. 233,708.26. The interest rate is 5% and 30, and then the payment amount is 1342.05. So now let's get the income. Get the income, which is $10,000. What are the expenses? It is everything except for the loan we're trying to pay. So $2,000, and then we'll do $10,000 chunks. It's really simple, $10,000, okay? And then you can see it pays off in 2.7 years. Woo, 2.7. Now, let's move this into a line of credit. You see it's 2.8, but it's 27 grand, right? So I don't know about you, would you pay 16 grand or 27 grand? And here's the crazy thing. If you do 30% off of small $10,000 chunks, does that beat? Hold on. 8%. So 21 grand versus 27 grand. So a 30% credit card would still beat that, which is kind of insane to think about, right? So, all right, so 2.7 years. Let me go ahead and do this, which is right here. This is now 0, so it's 49 divided by 12 plus 2.7, which is 6.78 years, and you're debt free. And then this is going to be 280 plus 250, and then that's 530K, so about half a million in about 6 years. All right. So this one is wrong because it's from the last one. So 580K. Okay, actually it's 560K. You see I have a fishbowl memory, so I can't remember. Five in paid off in 6.78 years. Woohoo! 6.78 years, and we're debt free. All right. Okay, that's it for today, folks. So have you created your velocity banking spreadsheet? You got to devote yourself, okay? That's and the reason why I say that is because a lot of people think like having this spreadsheet is valuable when it's about the exercise and do it every single day. That's why I pretty much create these videos every single day doing the same thing over and over again. All right? All right, well, that's it, folks. So this is Cranial Anti-Mentorship, and I'll see you all on the next video.